Is there a particular one you had in mind that you want to talk about?
I mean, I was looking down the list.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see. Which one has? Can I talk about like Dolphin Cove
Okay.
just to start? Yeah, so I think let's see what price Dolphin Cove today is. Well, yeah, the time of recording, this is $11.88. So let's call that $12. I was what I was looking for was to see the like when the companies drop their financials every quarter or 4 times a year. I was trying to look to say, okay, how would some of these companies mention things like Hurricane Melissa, like how what happened to them, and like any disclosures. So I
Mm-hmm.
can probably pull up Dolphin Cove's report. They did mention it. There were some that I saw didn't mention stuff, which I was a bit disappointed with. So, for example, there's this report. So this is a report up to September the 30th. So this would have been July, August, September 2025. And then Hurricane Melissa was end of October, right?
Mm-hmm.
Remember the exact day?
The
The system
28th.
saying made landfall the 28th of October. Yeah. So this was before the hurricane. They actually had a pretty decent quarter. They said their sales they did 3.5 mil US in sales, which was 9% more than last year for the quarter, and they were profitable. They made about 500k US versus last year they made about 200k US. So the profits increased by 152%.
Mm-hmm.
They did mention good stuff like visitor arrivals were doing pretty well. And they did nice. I was happy that they did at least say something about. Well, see, this is saying it struck Jamaica October 25th, and they say temporarily disrupted the Dolphin Cove's operations. They actually had to relocate the animals, and I think they had to do that for burial. Like apparently they move it to a hotel and stuff like that. They move the dolphins
Mm-hmm.
to hotels and put it in the pools and stuff. They actually said that they lost some dolphins. They said 2 dolphins were lost during the aftermath, a calf and one adult, which is sad. But
Wow.
luckily, they say all others have returned safely. The only thing I would be concerned about is I know that sometimes for animals, or just like people, I'm sure the going through that experience was traumatic for the dolphins, and I know that sometimes
Mm-hmm.
that can affect animals and just people, just like us. So for
Yeah,
example, I know
that's
like with
true.
cows and chickens, you can have a chicken survive a hurricane. Like it's not physically damaged, but it's just maybe the noise and the wind and other stuff. It's almost like it can traumatize them, and they just can't really make as much eggs, or the equivalent with like a cow, they can't make as much milk.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I'd want to see
Some
how
animals
like
just literally die from the stress, though.
yeah, I
Of
don't
like,
know
yeah, I'm not a vet, so
how do
I don't really know.
dolphins handle stress. Yeah, I guess you
You
could.
know, somebody said dolphins are like they're not they're, they're not good animals. Like in terms of like in the
Hmm.
ocean, it's almost as if they're. I don't want to use that word. I can't find a better word. Um, but yeah, um,
Hmm. But
but
yeah,
they're
like
cute.
they mentioned, yeah, yeah, yeah. They mentioned that the
Yeah.
parks were closed, so they're in the next report, which would be released. This is their quarter three.
Mm-hmm.
You would see they likely would a bit of full year that they'd released, but yeah, they said their parks were closed from October 25th when the hurricane to November 10th. So that's almost 2 weeks or so. And they say Ocho Rios and
Basically.
Yaman reopened November 11th. So now some of them were closed for a bit longer. And the Grilla Moon Palace scheduled to resume full operations by December 5th. So say that
Mm-hmm.
means at the time of recording, they possibly aren't open yet. So that's going to
Yeah.
be some dip in revenues, but some good stuff. They said the restoration costs of about 300k US are fully insured. So it's good that they have insurance. And the company maintains adequate resources to manage short-term cash flow effects. Full recovery and return to normal visitor levels are expected by mid-December as the tourism sector stabilizes. So I guess we could probably actually track to see how the arrivals have, like, how many people, like, have we started to have, I guess, a rebound after that dip. Um,
Mm.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, for them, the interesting part was that the owner of Dolphin Cove, or the majority owner, is they're going like through some tough times with the bankruptcy and stuff like that. So they are to actually be selling. I remember there was a post. This was what, PR Newswire. This is September
Have we?
16th. So this was pre.
Yeah, I feel like we spoke about this on our podcast on this channel about Dolphin Cove and the parent company selling or going through
Hmm.
bankruptcy issues and wanting to possibly sell.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we spoke about it in an episode. Do you remember the episode?
No. Well, we can talk about
Oh,
some of it here, because this is basically
yeah,
saying that the the owner of about, well, just under 80% of Dolphin Cove, 79.99%, is basically
World of
putting
Dolphins.
the company up for sale. So this was filed September the 16th, 2025. I'm guessing
Mm-hmm.
maybe Melissa could have had some delays for it. They actually even put, you don't think we should email them, like they say here, World of Dolphins asked that parties interested in purchasing some or all of its 79.99% stake in Dolphin Cove, please reach
Mm-hmm.
out. And they dropped the emails, yo. I was even looking up the
Oh.
company, Green Hill. It's apparently like a really big company, like millions and millions of US. It's been around for like almost
Mm.
30 years or something. And they said, they
Maybe
said
we.
if you do that, you'd have to sign non-disclosure agreements. You get data room access, which I think is like the financials and stuff like that. And they said including a detailed timeline for the sale process. You don't know any like millionaires or billionaires you want to call up?
I was actually thinking to just dip into the Limitless fund and see what we can scrounge up to buy
I
this
actually did
company.
send him my email still. Uh,
Of course you did. Of course you did.
yeah, I never got a
Yeah.
response though. I
Mm-mm. They're
needed to
not.
add
They're
more
not
zeros, I
serious.
guess.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm
Yeah.
trying to remember the
Either
date I
that or
sent the email
they're
to.
really not serious about us buying. Um, but let us know in
Uh,
the comments, guys, if you think Limitless should buy Dolphin Cove.
I sent
I
it
think.
November
I think.
7th.
Mm,
Yeah.
I mean, but we'd have to send in like a. We'd have to. It would have to be a takeover bid because it's
Mm,
control we'd go for.
mm.
Nothing less than
Think that,
control,
imagine
right?
if you could buy before. So you buy
Mm-hmm.
the shares. You say, okay, that's all the money I'm going to put in this. And then you send the email to them.
Mm-hmm.
And then they give you the information. If your offer was, I guess, convincing enough, depending on how they want to do it, if it's everyone in one or just piece or whatever. But I feel like they're not going to want to do it too many pieces though. So you'd have to be like a somewhat of a large enough size.
Yeah.
And then you could get, they say, include detailed timeline for the sale process. You could then understand, okay, even if I'm the person who isn't going to get it, then, this time period, it could be, say 3 months, 6 months or something like that. I was looking into some, so this is, I guess, more lawyer stuff. I guess a lawyer would probably be better at this, but from what I
Mm-hmm.
understand, I think somewhat of a rough timeline could be about 3 to 6 months. So then if this is mid-September, mid-October, mid-November, mid-December is 3 months, which is what we're just at. And then
Mm-hmm.
January, February, March, by mid-March or so. But there's like some different stages. I was looking it up in the process. But yeah, I don't know. I I did find it interesting because I do think there will be demand for it, because if you look at the price, it's probably trading at, I think it's like at $12. The company is worth, I think it's like 30 mil US. They have
Mm-hmm.
properties that they own worth more than that. So if that they've
Yeah,
said that they're
true.
gonna be selling. So
You know what's also interesting is like even if we as Limitless don't buy it,
mm-hmm,
like I think about other entities that would buy it
mm-hmm,
because it's a good company. They're very profitable. You just showed that, quarter over quarter is 152% increase in profits.
mm-hmm,
Um and then they pay dividends and so on. So when I think about it,
mm-hmm,
would a new owner actually be good for Dolphin Cove? Like, suppose you think of another owner that has some, other strategic partnership. Like right now, Dolphin Cove also operates. They have that dolphin section within Moon Palace. Suppose a hotel
Mm-hmm.
chain buys it and says, all right, we're gonna just, invest more capital into Dolphin Cove. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, you could grow it significantly and say, all right, we're going to expand Dolphin Cove specifically, because World of Dolphins, or I think it's Dolphin Discovery, or whatever the parent company's name is, right? They're the ones that have a bunch of different dolphin coves all over the world, in different countries. But Dolphin Cove, which is the Jamaican entity, is just really and truly. I mean, yeah, there are other pieces, but there are other like parks and so on, but that's just in Jamaica, really. But imagine a more regional expansion of Dolphin Cove, going into different hotel chains throughout the Caribbean or across the world, right? And they say, all right, let's just open up another flagship, um, you know, amusement park or so on, or put it in like in different, like there's so much more you can do with this
Mm-hmm.
company, and it's listed, so it's also pretty attractive. um so I'm looking
Mm-hmm.
forward to see whoever buys it. I think the ownership change can do a lot for the company, a lot for our local Dolphin Cove company. So hey, we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
Another point I had with Dolphin Cove though was the port. Did you know the Ocho Rios port was closed for a bit because and we mentioned it in a few episodes before, but there was a ship, I believe, that hit the port, that dock, um in Ocho Rios. Let me see if I can find the Or Today article and send it to you. I remember seeing it. But yeah, it's been damaged from, I think, last year. And
Mm-hmm.
how do I even send this in the? Oh, I just realized. Yeah, so it was damaged last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
And recently, I think even up to November 11th. This is a Or Today article. Um, and this picture was taken November 11th, where Carnival Corporation's Holland America actually docked at the Ocho Rios cruise port in Saint Anne. It was the first time since it was damaged in
Oh,
2024,
so it's
February
over a year.
2024. Yeah, but the timing is insane because this dock just opened up, reopened in November 12th. So it's like right after Hurricane Melissa. So you'd think that, because a lot of the northern and western sides of the island um were damaged, but here is the whole this the cruise, the Ocho Rios cruise port reopening. It's been
Mm-hmm.
almost 2 years, and hey, it's reopened now.
Mm. Yeah,
And
well.
the thing with Dolphin Cove is a lot of their customers come off of the cruise. So to
Mm-hmm.
me, that signals a lot of positivity for the company. Like, okay, if you have a lot of, um, cruise customers or so on, or tourists on cruises, if they come in, and then immediately you get a loss of revenues because the port no longer is operational, but
Mm-hmm.
you're still printing money. You're still making a lot of profits. Your revenues are still good, and so on. And then now, and of course, the flights have been increasing steadily, to Montego Bay and in Kingston, but mainly Montego Bay. So you're still getting tourist arrivals via the flights, but if now that port is fixed and you can take in a lot more and bigger cruise lines and so on, I'm thinking this signals really good opportunity for Dolphin Cove. So it's another thing I'm
They
looking at with the
addressed it
company.
in their financials last year. So this is in the quarter the same. Because you said it happened February 2024. This is the financials that covered January to February, March last year, 2024.
Hmm.
And it did say that the unusual severe weather caused damages in several properties across the North Coast, including the cruise ship pier in Ocho Rios. And they said that according to the Port Authority, it will remain closed at least for the next 6 months. And I think it was almost, 20 months. And then
20
they said they
months.
had to work on different strategies for other sale channels to minimize the effect. Yeah, so hopefully,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
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 And I mean, even just generally with tourism, there are over, I think, 1,000 new rooms that Edmund Bartlett said that would have been added this year, 2025. That
Mm.
fuels future arrivals. Although I have been
Did it?
seeing some hotels closing though, like the
Mm-hmm.
Grand Bahia, I think, is closing now because of Hurricane Melissa. Um, and the
Oh.
damages sustained. I think there are a few other, maybe one or two others that I've seen that either are closing permanently or temporarily or so on. But yes, there is that fallout. But the addition
Mm.
of new rooms just means more capacity, which means if you can take more tourists and flights are increasing and so on, hey, that's more
Mm-hmm.
money.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, let's see. I think Dolphin Cove is definitely one of those companies that a lot of people aren't looking at too much right now, and the
Mm-hmm.
stock price is at kind of a low if you look on it. Like it hasn't been.
You could always go lower.
It could go lower. That's true. It could definitely go lower. When was the last time it got to here? This $11, November 5th of this year, and it's kind of been meandering around there. But what's $12 to $15 or to $14?
Mm.
12 upon 12, 1 upon 6. That's shy of 20%. It's like 18. Okay. Opportunity
Mm.
still.